everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss. And today I'm happy to bring you issue number 60, Dr. Fate. And as I mentioned at the end of the last issue, this is a milestone issue, not necessarily because of the character, who is awesome in my opinion, but because issue number 60 here marks the halfway mark for the regular figures in the series. Yay! And at the same time, boo, because they stopped the line at number 120. So we're officially halfway through with this guy. Also, this issue has no original thinking section. It is replaced instead with an iconography section, and that's how it'll be for the foreseeable future here. As for Dr. Fate, he's an awesome character. He's been around for quite a while. He's a member of the JSA, and he's been on various TV shows. He's appeared in animated series like the Justice League and the Justice League Unlimited. He's also currently appearing on the new animated show Young Justice. He's been realized in real life as well on the television show Smallville, which was pretty cool for DC fans. And he's also been featured on episodes of Batman the Brave and the Bold, because that whole show was all about team-ups. Anyway, we will learn everything we need to know about Dr. Fate here in the magazine, which we'll cover first. And it'll cover all the different incarnations of Dr. Fate. There have been quite a few, actually. And then we will look at the figure itself, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a really nice figure, not without a few flaws, but we'll cover that shortly. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy issue number 60 of the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, Dr. Fate. First up, the character section. It's here that we learn Dr. Fate has actually been a few different men, but originally he was known as Nabu the Wise, a Lord of Order. Jump ahead to 1940 and we meet Kent Nelson, who is joining his father, world-renowned archaeologist Sven Nelson, on a dig in what used to be known as Mesopotamia. Kent was taken to an otherworldly dimension where Nabu continued his training and also aged the boy, turning him into an adult in the blink of an eye. The next couple pages deal with Kent's early career as Dr. Fate. On one of his very first missions, Dr. Fate encountered Nordic Valkyries that had been summoned by Hitler, who was trying to use arcane magic to win the war. And it was while he was fighting in World War II that he joined up with the Justice Society of America. We also learn that the more Kent wore the helm as Dr. Fate, the more control Nabu gained over his will. It also introduces us to the evil Wotan, a Lord of Chaos, as well as Inza Kramer, who saved Dr. Fate from near death and became his wife. After doing battle with the Lords of Chaos and expelling much of his magical powers and energies, we find Kent Nelson beginning to age, and having to choose a successor. So the next couple pages talk about the new incarnations of Dr. Fate. We meet Eric Strauss, who both Nabu and Kent choose to carry on as Dr. Fate. Next came Jared Stevens, an antiquities trader, who came upon the helm and amulet mysteriously, melted them down into a dagger and throwing star, and called himself simply Fate. Hector proved to be one of the most powerful incarnations of Dr. Fate when he defeated and imprisoned the evil Lord of Chaos, Mordru. He also took on former JSA teammate, the Wrath of God incarnate known as the Spectre, but unfortunately sacrificed himself to save the world. The helm and amulet traveled the far reaches of space until finally crash landing back on Earth into a trash dumpster to be found by Dr. Kent V. Nelson. Next, we look at a couple of Dr. Fate's classic stories. First, we have first issue special number 9, Dr. Fate. And this was Dr. Fate's very first appearance in comic books in more than 35 years, in a special series where every month featured a different hero, and this was one of the best. We see him taking on an evil, monstrous, mummified creation known as Kali, and we also get to see him at home learning to deal with being Kent as an archaeologist, and Kent as Dr. Fate the superhero, as well as how his wife Inza is learning how to live with his dual identity. It's a beautifully illustrated story, and one of the classics. We also have the JSA, Justice Be Done. And this epic story not only introduced the newest Dr. Fate, Hector Hall, it also introduced a new JSA for a new generation. It opens with the evil Lord of Chaos, Mordru, killing one of the original members of the JSA, Sandman, which of course brings all of the old team members out of retirement in order to bring him to justice. We also are introduced to the newest incarnation of Dr. Fate along the way, Hector Hall, and learn that he is the son of a previous incarnation of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. It's a beautifully illustrated story that really is epic. Next we look at some of Dr. Fate's friends and foes, featuring of course the wizard Naboo and his friends and teammates Hawkman and Hawkgirl. And finally, the iconography section features the tools of Dr. Fate. We get to see his base of operations, known as the Tower of Fate, the Crystal Orb of Naboo, which allows Dr. Fate to see anywhere, including other dimensions, his Cloak of Destiny, which can take on a life of its own if it feels threatened, the Amulet of Anubis, which is actually a repository for some of the most evil souls that Dr. Fate has had to encounter. And finally, the Helm of Naboo, which contains all of the knowledge of the wise wizard and Lord of Order, Naboo. And here we have Dr. Fate, and another classic DC character, another Golden Age hero, and another, I think, really fantastic figure. He's not perfect, but he is, again, very, very nice. As you can see, the helm and the amulet are both this really nice metallic gold, as opposed to the cloak and the gloves and everything else, which are just a really perfect yellow color. And the blue of the rest of the costume is, I think, the exact shade it should be. The helm is especially nice. There's some great sculpting going on there. you can see how it's beveled in on both sides of the jaw there, so it has this great little, you know, sort of peak that it comes to in the center. It looks very ominous and imposing. Love that sort of mohawk it has, and the eyes, how they're sunken in, and they have the black eyeshadowing in there, and the solid white pupils are fantastic. I think the pose is great, dynamic. You can see they did every digit on both hands. All of his fingers are sculpted, and I think that's fantastic, especially on a regular edition figure. The cape is huge and awesome and well shaded, and overall he's really impressive. The only main problems I really have are sort of with the lower body. The shading is a little heavy on the legs, as you can see. But, I mean, that's, I think, one of the only sort of nitpicks I have about the figure. I think he's pretty awesome overall, and I'll have a little bit more in just a moment. Dr. Fate stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of his base features his name and serial number. And so you can get a sense of size and scale. Here he is next to the Spectre. And a nice group with the other members of the Justice Society of America. Dr. Fate is, I think, a really impressive figure overall. It's a nice addition to the line. I really like pretty much everything about it, especially the gold that they used on the helmet. I think that was a nice touch. They, of course, went with the more classic look here, which I think is appropriate. I think this is the one that most people are familiar with, and overall, I really am pleased with this guy. We'll start with the good. Pretty much everything, to be honest. There's very little I don't like. I like the fact that they went with a more classic design and color scheme and everything with the character. I love the blues and the yellows. I think they're the perfect shades. The cape is awesome. I love how big it is, how it kind of blows around part of his body, all the tucks and folds of it, great shading and highlighting all the way up the back. Love the chest as well, great definition, and the belt. I love that big exaggerated belt, the old school version of the belt, which I think is great here. You can see as well, all the muscle definition is really well done. And his hands are awesome. Love the gloves, and every single finger on both hands are done. They're molded, and they're really well done too. There's no webbing between the fingers, there's no gnarled fingers or anything like that. So I really do like that, as well as the outstretched hand. It's really cool. It's a great looking pose, like he's casting a spell. And then the gold for the amulet, you can see, is really nice. It's got a great metallic fleck, and all the detailing through that whole amulet piece is really well done, all the way around the back. And then, of course, the head sculpt. Really, really fantastic. I love the helm. I love that front piece, how deep that jaw is. It comes to a nice point. There's that beveling on the sides, so it kind of scoops out and away a little bit. I love that mohawk thing down the top of it. I think that's really great, and the eyes are awesome. They're sunken in, there's that deep eyeshadow around it, and then the white pupils are really fantastic. It looks like he's in full-on sorcerer mode at this point. It's a great, great head sculpt. The bad, aside from some minor paint bleeding that I really don't care about, would be the legs, the shading, the shadowing, what they used for the muscle definition on the legs. It's way too thick. It looks cartoonish. It's the only thing I don't like about the figure, so if you can, watch out for that. The ugly. The only thing to watch out for on this guy would be the hands. You gotta watch those fingers, especially the one that's outstretched. It's very easy to bend those fingers, and if you have the ability to check before you buy, I would recommend that you do so to make sure you're not getting any pre-gnarled fingers. Overall, I really am happy with this guy. I think he's a fantastic addition, aside from the minor issue I have with the legs. You're really not looking at his legs when you're posing this guy, and he stands sort of to the side anyway, so you don't really notice it. But I think he's fantastic overall. I like the old school heroes. What can I say? The Golden Age, I dig. And he looks fantastic with the Justice Society. It's nice to have almost every major core member of that team here. So yeah, I really dig this guy overall. And I hope you guys have dug this review. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please stay tuned for a quick teaser trailer of the next hero in the line. It is another hero. It's an intergalactic hero as well. So we're going to take a trip into space with the next one, so stay tuned. As always, I am your host, the MonkeyBoy, aka Jay to his friends. Thanks for watching.